and welcome to QETV Live Show with your host, Miss H. I have an exciting show lined up for you today, but first I just want to say I have a question for my viewers out there. Today is January 31st, 2019. We're at the end of the month for this new year that we have just entered into. So I would like to ask you, please call me and let me know, or you can tweet me, or you can Instagram, FaceTime me, but let me know, when should you stop using the word Happy New Year? Is it the first week, the second week, continue throughout the month? Or for some of you, if you remain happy, and as long as it's a new year, do you just continue to say it at will? So please call me. The call-in number is 240-719-2560. Again, I would just like to know, when do you think, or should we continue to say Happy New Year? What time, how long, or is it appropriate, or you just should just kill it? Just let it go, okay? Let me know. I want to know. Again, this is QETV Live Show with your host, Miss H, asking you, where we're bridging inspiration with information for everyday life. You can watch me live every Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30 right here on Vox Wave. Yes. Watch me live every Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30. And again, we're bridging inspiration with information for everyday life. We have a lot of interesting special guests and artists, authors, motivational speakers, business owners that come on the show and share with you concerning their products, their services, just so you can know what's going on in your community and all around you, to continue to live in good health, with hope, with inspiration, and also to let you know that you too can become a business owner. You too can find purpose in life. And that's where I want to segue into now, that each week I try to bring you a few minutes of inspiration where I'm giving you something that's going to bridge that hope in your life, to help you see that there's nothing impossible. There's nothing that you cannot do. Now, today's show is very interesting. I have an interesting guest that's going to help you discover your purpose. So you don't want to miss this show today, because he will share with you some interesting information where he's discovered, and he has written a book called The Manufacturer's Manual, Discovering the Purpose of You as the Product. Okay? So you don't want to miss this show today. But before we get into that, and I will tell you more about that, I just wanted to segue into a little bit about what I was thinking of when I invited him on the show. And if you really think about it, that is everyone's question in their mind. You know, from the time you're born until the time you die. You know, from the beginning of life to the end of life, there's all this gray area in between. And I don't care who you ask, the most important questions in life that people are looking for, and they look to many things for that answer. And you have to really be careful where you look and how you find the answer. But here are some questions that people ask. I know I did, and I'm sure a lot of you have, and I've worked with a lot of youth, and they have asked the same questions. I run into adults that still asking the same question. And some of the questions that people are looking for and never find the answers to, and sometimes they'll leave this world without even knowing what their purpose in life. But here are some of the things that hopefully today you will find that answer. But We all ask these questions, beginning with our origin. Where did I come from? That's a great question. And you know what? You deserve to know the answer. So you need to stay tuned in for the show today, because we plan to answer that question for you. The other question that people often answer, why am I here? Why? A 3-letter word that can literally change a person's life, change their destiny. Why am I here? And what am I supposed to do while I'm here? Like, I'm here, okay? I discovered the origin, but I don't even know why I'm here and what am I supposed to do, okay? And then the other thing we often say to ourselves is, how am I supposed to do? If you do tell me, Ms. H, why I'm here and what I'm supposed to do, and it's confirmed and I really believe that I'm supposed to do this, how do I even start? So those are a lot of questions that I believe that today you will get the answer to. Because without knowing those things, you will walk around and you will live life meaningless. No aim, no goal. But here's the thing that people don't understand. If you don't know where you're going, why you're here, or what you're supposed to do, someone else will help you feel that purpose and give you an assignment that's never was yours. And that's what I discovered for a long time. So that's another question. And then the last one that often frightens us, and sometimes we don't think about it until we've lived life, we get towards the end of our life, and then life really sets in for us, and then we begin to ask ourselves the question, where am I going when I leave here? What will be my destiny? And sometimes it can sound like you're trying to tell another person, I'm at the end of my rope, and it's really not. What it is, that question has always been in the back of your mind. You've always just pushed it aside because you didn't get the answer, or you got fluff for an answer. People gave you mystical things like, oh, you're going to come back as a butterfly, or you're going to be a cow in another life, or you're going to be in holding between life. So you didn't want to, really look into it, or you didn't want to allow yourself to think about that. But the older you get, that question comes right back. And there's a reason for it. Because you know why? We were created to know. Yes, that's it. We were created to know. People say you never know what God will do. As if there is a mystical question of your origin, your purpose, and your destiny that you're not supposed to know. How do you give an account for something in life that you never knew? That would be unfair and injustice for you. If I have to give an account of something, if I got to stand before a judge and he accused me of something, I better understand why I'm being accused, and I better understand what the purpose, why I'm in court. Because if not, somebody's going to get sued. We know that in the natural. Then we really need to understand that about our own life. But here's the reason. It's a spiritual thing. And most of the time, because we are vague and we're dark in our understanding of spiritual things, we don't know how to get the truth, and we don't know the real answer. But today, we want to help you to discover some of those real answers. So don't go anywhere. Remember, the Manufacturer's Manual, Discovering the Purpose of You by Alan S. Wilson. He is here today, and he wants to share with you some of the golden nuggets that he has discovered and want to pass on to you. So right now, what I want you to do, I want you to go and find someone. Tell them about this program, QETV Live Show with your host, Miss H. Tell them about today's topic, discovering your purpose in life, helping you to discover some things about life that you did not know. It's worth listening to. You've listened to everything else. Why not give this a chance? And also, I want you to call in at 240-719-2560 and answer the question about the new year, okay? So again, don't go anywhere. I want you to call up 5 people. I want you to go on your social media site and let them know you're watching QETV Live Show with your host, Miss H, and we will be talking about finding purpose for your life today. I will be taking a station break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you.
You're watching the QETV Live Show with your host, Mrs. H. Tune in at voxwave.com or call in at 240-719-2560. Again, that's 240-719-2560. We're located at 4711 Off Place in Camp Springs, Maryland. Watch live the QETV Live Show every Thursday from 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Would you like to be a guest on the QETV Live Show with your host, Mrs. H? You may reach her at 240-353-3806. Again, that's 240-353-3806, or email QETVLive@gmail.com. The QETV Live Show is bridging inspiration and information for everyday life. You're watching the QETV Live Show with your host, Mrs. H. Tune in at voxwave.com or call in at 240-719-2560. Again, that's 240-719-2560. We're located at 4711 Off Place in Camp Springs, Maryland. Watch live the QETV Live Show every Thursday from 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Would you like to be a guest on the QETV Live Show with your host, Mrs. H? You may reach her at 240-353-3806. Again, that's 240-353-3806, or email QETVLive@gmail.com. The QETV Live Show is bridging inspiration and information for everyday life.
So you like smooth jazz? Great. Horn of Plenty, Harvest Harmony from saxophonist Travis Bridges. Smooth jazz and all the sax you'll ever need. Available at travisbridges.com. 786-487-7338. Horn of Plenty from Travis Bridges. All the sax you'll ever need.
Hello and welcome back to QETV Live Show with your host, Miss H. Remember, I want you to call in to answer the question about the Happy New Year. Do we still continue to say Happy New Year, or do we just need to let it go since it's the end of the month, okay? Call me at 240-719-2560 and let me know that you're watching and that you heard me, okay? But back to our guests, we now have Mr. Alan S. Wilson as my special guest today. Welcome to the show, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
And you know what? As I was looking at your website, I noticed that you served in the military.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you mind me asking what branch of the service?
The U.S. Air Force.
U.S. Air Force. I want to personally say thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
We
Appreciate it.
want to always thank our U.S. military soldiers, whether they're inactive or active duty. Thank you for your service, and to thank all of you who serve in that area of public service. We couldn't live life in a safe country without our policemen, our first responders, and all those that are working diligently out there to serve us as U.S. citizens. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your service. And also, I would just want to say to those that are in the Chicago area, I pray for you, and I pray that you continue to stay warm and bundled up. Again, we bridge inspiration with information for everyday life, and it's important that you know someone that is homeless or living in these below sub-zero degree weather. Let someone know. Check on your neighbors, and make sure everyone is safe and warm. But as promised, I always look to bring guests on the show that have a message of hope and inspiration, and that's going to give you substance. And today, Mr. Wilson will be discussing his book, The Manufacturer's Manual, Discovering the Purpose of You, the product. So we want to jump right into this book. This is awesome. First of all, I like the cover. I love your presentation. I just want everyone to see this book. So, Mr. Wilson, again, thank you for your service. But for my viewers out there, who is Mr. Alan S. Wilson? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into the reason why you wrote this book and all the information in the book.
Well, my name is Alan S. Wilson, and I'm originally from New York City. My mother, born to my mother, Willie Dale Wilson, and also my father, Calvin James Wilson. Calvin James Smith, who's deceased. A little historical context here.
Okay.
My mother's originally from Albany, Georgia, and my father's originally from a place called Little Washington, North Carolina.
Oh,
and they migrated up here during the Great Migration, or the migration of African Americans from the South during the 50s and 60s. And they migrated up to New York City, and they met, and I came out.
And that's where you were born. So you're a native New Yorker.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm married to a native New Yorker. My husband is from Long Island, New York. That's where I got married in New York City. So I have a lot of family, and as you say, people migrated there. So, just tell us a little bit about you served in the military. How long ago, and how long were you in the military?
Well, I was in the military for about 22 and a half years. Served in the U.S. Air Force. And I joined the military, let me back up. I exited the military in terms of active duty service back in 2008.
Okay.
And I joined the military back in 1983.
A lot different now than it was then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I joined the military. Well, I had a dream. And this is before I knew God. We're going to get into little things in here. And I had a dream about that I didn't necessarily join the military, but what amazingly God has something for you, and he'll give you snapshots of things throughout your life. in order for you to fulfill your purpose and your destiny. You might not understand it at that particular time. But what happens is I had a dream, and I think I come from humble beginnings. Okay. We were born and I grew up in the ghetto. There's no silver spoon in my mouth or anything like that. I'm not Prince Charles or anything like that. But I'm here just to let somebody know that no matter where you come from, no matter what your ethnic background, no matter what your gender may be, you have a purpose, you have a destiny, you have something that needs to be accomplished, and God would not have sent you for this time in history to accomplish that. And what's in you is to be deposited to the rest of the world.
Wow. So you had a dream that you were going into the military.
Right.
Okay.
And what I did with that dream was I locked it up in the back of my head and left it alone. Didn't think about it. I graduated high school. Just like anybody else, you're trying to look for your life and trying to discover what this thing is all about. And then all of a sudden it came to me, well, it was time to join the Air Force. A little prompting from my mother. Mom said, well, it's time for you to move on. You can't stay here for all the days of your life. So I joined the Air Force, got stationed at a place called McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. And that's where I met my wife. And then I ended up in a place called RAF Upper Heyford in England. And that's where I had an encounter with God at that point. All right? And the Lord came to me at that point. You're at that point in your life, well, I don't know about anybody else, but I've always wanted to make a difference in the African-American community. But I didn't know how to do it. I mean, I wasn't Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela or, I was just trying to figure out what life was all about. And the Holy Spirit, this is me looking back at it, but the Holy Spirit came to me and said, if you really want to make a difference in the African-American community, I have a way that you not only can make a difference in the African-American community, but to all nations of the world. You just need to accept my son, Jesus Christ.
So this was BC, before Christ Day.
Right.
And he said this to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, needless to say, I was like, that's what I'm looking for. I didn't understand it. And I'm saying this because sometimes we don't understand the still small voices that are there. This is the manufacturer, the creator of all things, reaching out, the King of Glory, reaching out to his people, to his children, and saying, come to me. I have the answer that you're looking for, or answers that you're looking for. Who you are, what you were sent here to do. Now, I didn't know all that, what I'm saying.
Right, that's okay. Looking back in retrospect, yes.
Yeah. So that's how I got into this thing we call Christianity, or accepted the Lord as my personal Savior. I still didn't know how to do that at that particular time, but one step at a time, I ended up in the church and stuff like that. Now, I'm a little black boy from the ghettos of New York City. I know nothing about church. My church was the ghetto. That was the streets. I come from the concrete jungle. And I know a little bit about the Air Force. Of course, I was newly into the Air Force. So that's kind of the background of where I'm coming from on that.
So as you move forward and you had this encounter with God, you were in the military at the time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So bring us post-military. Now that you exit out, what caused you to begin now to complete that search and find the answers to you will make a difference in the world for people?
Yeah. So I realized that during this time in history, a lot of people have answers or have questions to certain things.
Right.
And what happens is they don't have maybe a foundation or a beginning or a start, but they have opinions about certain things. We know of social media and things like that. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has something to say. But I realized that if you're going to have an opinion about something, you need to start with the foundation. Like, for example, a lot of us have an opinion about our political and social and economic climate, which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
All right? But our political and socioeconomic climate has a foundation, has a beginning. The beginning, as we know it in this country, is called the Constitution. And it's okay to have an opinion about something, but think about this. When we have an opinion about something, we ought to also understand what the foundation was.
Okay.
What does the Constitution say? It's okay to talk about immigration. It's okay to talk about many other things like that. But let's go back and find out what the Constitution says and then bring it forward.
Okay.
So God is like that. He wants us to understand His Constitution for humanity.
Okay.
And His Constitution that He's given us is the Bible, as
Okay.
we know it. So I write this book to point people to the Bible. The book itself is not the answer to everything, but it is a book to get the reader to get into the Constitution, the foundation for him or herself, and find those answers that he or she needs. Because the manufacturer or the creator wants to communicate to his people, to his children, and he wants good success. But in order for us to understand, to get the success, then we need to understand or look at the Bible or get into the manufacturer's manual for ourselves.
That really sounds like a beginning. So tell me, how did you start with formatting the outline to help me? I'm a viewer. I want to know my origin. Why am I considered, first of all, a product? Because now it sounds like I'm something out there. So how did you come up with the format to begin to show me? Because if I'm a person out there and I don't know my origin, I want a true foundation, because I hear so much. And, you know, everybody got an opinion.
Right.
Everyone seemed to have a truth.
That's right.
But how did you come up with knowing that this is the manufacturer manual for me to follow? And share with me some of the preface in this book, the outline in this book on how you began to walk a person through discovering their purpose.
Okay. So when you buy a product from the manufacturer, say you go to the store.
Yes.
But you're excited. You want to buy your laptop. You want to buy your cell phone.
Well, I just bought a vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
I bought not a vacuum cleaner, a shampoo.
Shampoo.
And
okay.
I'm be honest. We don't read that manual. Okay. We start putting stuff together.
That's right. That's right.
And I'll be honest, it was so many parts left over when I tried to put that thing together that it frustrated me for 3 hours. And I had to go back to the manual to read, to see why I had 3 parts left over back here. So I know what you mean when you said that when you buy a product. Okay.
Right. So the manufacturer actually places the manual or instruction manual in such a way in the box so you as the consumer, once you open up the box, it's right there.
Okay.
And you should start reading it before you start tinkering with things. But human nature as it is,
curiosity.
We start tinkering and turning dials and pushing buttons and
Most
trying
definitely.
to put things without even looking at the manual for ourselves.
Okay.
So what the manufacturer is the Father, the creator of all things. He is saying is read my manual before you start tinkering with certain things that are common to all of us, like marriage, like money, like manhood, like medicine, meals. The Father gave me kind of M's, all M's, like just the way it came.
I like that. He gave you all M's.
Yes.
Money. Let's go through that again.
Okay.
Money.
Okay. So money, marriage.
Okay.
Manhood. Let's see what else we got here. Let's open up this book a little bit.
Okay. You got man. You got marriage. You got manhood. Okay, you got medicine, meals, ministry, and music, and media. I like that. Yes. So the M's, he started working with you with the M's.
And that's how he kind of downloaded it
into you. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I started unpacking it, as it were. What does this mean? And these are things that are common to all mankind. There's nothing, we're all interested in money. We're all interested in marriage, whether we agree with it, or relationships in some way, or having being successful with money and relationships. Meals, of course, we got to consume food.
Okay.
We're all kind of interested in that.
So where would I fit in as a woman? Because that starts with a W.
Okay, that's the. Well, yeah, one of the things about the manufacturer made the product in 2 models, male and female.
Okay, so we're all in the man
right,
category.
Right,
okay.
right. But there's
okay.
two models here.
I accept that answer.
and the female has a particular purpose and relationship to the other model.
Okay.
All right. So one of the purposes of the female, and we'll talk about this in the book, and book, is to help, is to be a helper, is to help the male model become successful, and they become successful together.
Okay.
So her primary purpose, and she has the components that are necessary in order to help the male become successful in the grand scheme that God has for both the male and the female working together collectively. Now, it doesn't matter. You say, well, we might say in terms of a marriage. We talk about that in marriage. But it doesn't really matter. Whether you are a wife, whether you're an aunt, whether you're a grandmother, whether you're a mother, whether you're a niece, any of those. The female model of humanity has the components that are necessary to help the male model of humanity. Let me give you an example. Okay, it is said that we have in our prison system, federal prison systems, over half the population is African American males. You probably heard that or something like that. What if, hypothetically, what if all those males were released from jail? Now, you know our government doesn't really have the facilities to help prepare those that have been incarcerated.
Okay.
But God has a way through the female to help the male become what our government or our systems cannot do. For example, a woman has the ability in her components, a way to encourage a little boy or your husband or whatever the case may be. There's a way, there's something about, and I can't really explain it even from a psychological way, but it's something in her voice, it's something within her makeup, and that the manufacturer, the creator, has put in the female to make her compatible in such a way that she can, through her voice and through her makeup, can make him become successful collectively together.
Okay.
So that's part of it. The other thing is, and let's talk about the woman here. If you give a woman, you give her what I'm trying to say. If you give her a word, she will give you a sentence. If you give her a sentence, she will give you a paragraph. If you give her a paragraph, she will give you a chapter. If you give her a chapter, she will give you a book.
That's right.
All right. So there's something within her makeup that the manufacturer, the creator, has put in her to make the male become successful. Now, he's got his part too, but we're talking about the woman, how valuable she is to the male and to the grand scheme of things. Okay. So what the manufacturer is saying is, help me help the male become successful. I need your help.
Okay.
I don't need you to go beside him and try to make him something he's not. I got that already. But I need you to help him become what I've already, it's in him. I just need a little, he just needs a little push. Yeah, there's something there.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay. Say a young man came to you and he's not ready for marriage. So let's take the female out of the grand scheme of things. And he wants to come to you for advice like, you know, I've been going down the wrong path of life and I listened to the show and I want to know my origin and what's the purpose for my life. How do you guide that young man through your book to begin to understand the manufacturer's manual for his life?
Right. Okay. So in the book itself is geared toward guiding or directing the person toward the manual, which is the Bible, and also the manufacturer. Okay. So this book is really kind of a guideline. It doesn't answer all the questions, but he has the questions. So in the Bible it says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all His righteousness, and everything you need shall be added to you.
Okay.
All right? So what a young man or a young person has to do is, like me, desire to want to know him. To know him. That's the key thing. And the way you do it, I do things differently than other people. No two people are alike. Right. But I'm always thinking of ways or pondering ways to say, Father, I love you. Mm-hmm. Father, I appreciate you. Now, there's something I was meditating on, and just recently I was reading, and I'm going to try to get back to your question, but I think it'll bring it in line with this. Our Father.
Yes.
Now, we know the rest of it. Our Father who art thou in heaven. Right, we know the rest of it. But I was meditating on something. He said, our Father. And he said, our Father. He's not your Father. He's not my Father. He's not the white man's father. He's not the dark-skinned man's father. He's not the woman's father. He is our Father. He cares about humanity.
I like that.
You know, and
that's great.
that eliminates all the racial issues. That's right good. There. Mm-hmm. And you start looking at it from his perspective. And one thing a young man has to do, or a young person has to do, is take the perspective on how he looks at it. Take his story. Now, as I just said, history. Yes. There's man's history, but there is his story for humanity. Okay. And what the Father wants us to do is take on his story for humanity. And so some of those things in the manufacturer's manual, you start looking at it from, well, he's my Father. He's our Father.
Yes.
Father. So I don't really have to be racist. I have a purpose. I have a destiny. See, when you don't know the purpose of a thing, you abuse it. You misuse it. And so which we have division in our society, whether along categories or racial lines, so to speak. See, that eliminates a lot of things if you really think and put it in perspective a little bit. So what happens is, he is our Father. Mm-hmm. And so since he is our Father, that means I'm taking it from his perspective, not man's perspective. See, we put all these categories. We say, well, the black man, the white man, yes, the Asian man, all these other things. You know, we kind of set each other up. This is set each other up for this. But when we start taking it from God's perspective, he cares about all humanity. He cares about everyone. So in God or in the Father, there is no isms or schisms or divisions or anything like that. The question is, whose report shall you believe? Mm-hmm. We shall believe what he says we are. So that deals with all the issues of, I'm complete in him. Who I am and what I am comes from him. Mm-hmm. And he has put within the product us success and what we need.
So we need to, I like that word that enlightened me to the word our, because, you know, I had that same encounter when I read the famous verse, John 3:16. Mm-hmm. It says, for God so loved the world. Mm-hmm. And I remember going on this mission trip almost 15 years ago, and they call it the ugly American, that sometimes we think that he's God of America. Mm-hmm. And we don't realize he's the God of the whole universe. Right. He's God of the world, and he just don't love America. Right. For God so loved the world that he gave. So I like that inclusively, that our Father. So that gives us the hope that anyone can come.
Yes.
And get their life changed and discover who they are and why they were born. Mm-hmm. So let's move on further into the book, that as you, and I love the M's, how you broke it down into the M's so people can understand the music, the media, the money, that no matter what your purpose in life is, God has an answer, but it's found in his word.
Yes.
So this book is almost like a supplement, that vitamins is not food, but it's giving you energy that can help you until you get some food.
Right.
So I love the fact that you says, I'm not claiming that this book is a know-it-all, but it's a tool to use to push you to the one who created you. So as a person coming to you, wanting to discover, okay, I know now the origin. You says I came from God. I can go to his manual. But now I don't understand and don't know how to discover my purpose. So what's the next step in the process? I know where I came from. You said, and you showed me in the Bible, that God was the creator. So he created me. But why did he create me? That's the answer I want to know, because I'm now 22 years old. I don't want to wait till I'm 70 and die and never know my purpose. So what's the next step in the process? Or do you show me in your book how I can find that next step?
Well, in the book and also in the Bible, it talks about, remember we did quote a script, seek ye first the kingdom of God. Okay. So you have to seek his nature, his understanding of his nature. As you seek God, you begin to discover what he is, who he is, and how you are constructed.
Now, explain that seek, because, you know, as a terminology, people say that seek God, seek God, seek. We don't use that word in today's language. So what word could you give me or to help me? Because I'm still looking back at you when you say seek God. And I'm looking at you like, I don't know how to seek God. So explain to me, what is seeking God?
Pursue.
Oh, now I understand that word. So pursue him. Okay.
Just like a young man will pursue a young lady.
Oh, trust me, they know how to do that really well. So we have to use terminology that people can relate to. Yeah,
and that comes, and you think about it, it comes natural.
Sure.
When a young man sees a young lady, he will make the necessary. Exactly. That's what God is looking for.
Okay.
He's looking for that, for his creation to naturally pursue him, to woo. See, he's always wooing us. Okay. That young man is always, he's going to be wooing that young lady. So he'll do his best. He'll do what he has to do.
So you tell me that if you directed me to the manufacturing manual, which you call the Bible, am I correct by saying that? That the more I read, it's like that word will begin, I will begin to pursue it and woo the word, have that same intimacy with the word.
Right. I like that. Intimacy.
Okay. Yeah, because you broke it down for me when you said pursuing, wooing. We all know that terminology, so I like that. So you're saying the more I read and the more I spend time, that's seeking him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think I got it now. I'm ready. Okay.
And it comes in, everybody's a little bit different. See, when I started pursuing him, I would go to church.
Okay.
Right? And I would listen to the message, and I would write notes. And I would write notes, and he would go through, the pastor, whoever was speaking, would, turn to John 3:16 or turn to whatever else in the Bible. And I would start, writing notes in what he said. And then I would go back later on, usually the same day, and I would go back to, back in the military in the dorm room, and I would go back and start dissecting, taking it apart, as it were, and looking at the scripture and kind of trying to get an understanding of what was being spoken to me. And in that process, as it were, it made me want to know him even more. Okay. Because I was hungry. And that's the key thing. Just like a young man, if he's hungry enough, he'll do what he has to do. He'll get a nice suit, he'll get, and at first you'd be like, how you tell a young man, go take a shower, go take a bath, you smell, or whatever the case may be. And he'll look at you like you're crazy, your mom, and you're trying to tell him to do it right and stuff like that. And then what happens? A young lady comes by, and all of a sudden he changed. He up in the shower, he putting all deodorant on, and you look at that and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
See? See?
That's true.
And that's what has to kick in. You know, that desire to want to know and to want to do the right things has to kick in. So I wanted to know and to know him and really know the one who apprehended me.
Wow, that's good.
Somebody apprehended me.
That's
and I
good.
felt it, you know. So I had to learn the manual and had to get into the manual.
I like that. So you're saying that no matter what your circumstance is or what situation you're facing, not in this particular book, but in God's manual, there's an answer for it.
Yes, there is an answer.
I have to do something on my part.
Right.
It's not just going to fall on me.
Right.
Because, you know, that's so many times that's what we expect to happen. It's almost like when you want to lose weight, you wish the gym could come to you, but we all know you got to go to it, or you got to arise, you got to get up and you got to do something. Right. That puts a responsibility on us. So now I am responsible for finding purpose. Even though purpose is there sitting on my table, I got to get into the manual and discover it and find purpose. So you're telling me that as I pursue him, as I seek him, as I begin to search for the truth will start being enlightening to me?
Yes. So what will happen is there's a 4-letter word that sometimes some of us are afraid of. It's called W-O-R-K.
Work.
Okay.
I'll spell that for you. Work.
All right. So we have to put some work or
in.
some sweat equity into it in order for us to get the benefit out of it.
Okay.
Right. But what the manufacturer is doing, or the creator, or the father is he's looking at your desire. As you come closer to him, he will come closer to you. As you desire, as you woo, as you come to him, he will come closer to you, and then things will start to open up. And they may not make any natural sense, but they make sense to the inside of you. Because then you start to act out, or what happens is the components that he has placed in you start to make sense. See, there's certain things about you that's different than somebody else.
Right.
There's some likes and dislikes.
Yeah, we're all unique.
Right, we're all unique. So some things you gravitate toward, some things you repel against. That's natural, and that's because we're all different. But see, you start to put those. You start to understand the components. Your desires and certain things are put in place like a puzzle, and you start to see it. See, before God comes into your life, everything's kind of fuzzy. Yeah, it's kind of fuzzy. You can kind of see something, you know that, but it's kind of fuzzy. But as you draw closer to him, then that fuzziness, as it were, becomes less and less. And things, you start to see the components a little bit better. You start to see things a little bit differently. And he starts to show you things. The dreams that you have start to make a little bit more sense. Yeah. So you were having dreams before. Right. Because you came from him, right? But now your dreams and things like that. Did you know a dream is a letter from God?
No, I didn't know that.
So when like you get a letter.
Okay.
You know, you get a letter, and you open it up and stuff like you're excited and stuff like that, and you open up, and you start reading. You read a letter. Well, a lot of times the dreams that God gives us is like a letter that He's trying to download to us. He's trying to communicate to us. So don't take for granted that when you have a dream. So what I do sometimes is when I have a dream, I write the letter out.
Okay. I like that.
And then I put it away. And then as time goes on, it starts to make sense. I had a dream that I was coming in the United States Air Force. Wasn't even thinking about the Air Force. Wasn't thinking about that, anything like that. But that's what I saw. Matter of fact, there was nothing in my background that suggests I would be in the U.S. military. There were no generals in my background that I knew of, no family members. We were all just little black boys growing up in the ghettos of New York City, running around.
That probably saved your life.
Well,
going into the military.
Yes. But when that happened, it was like, okay, I just locked it up and just left it alone. But when it happened, it was like, wow. I wasn't too surprised because I had the dream. I couldn't explain it to anybody, but I had the dream. Some dreams you're not going to be able to explain to some people, but they make sense in terms of your trajectory in life.
Okay.
Hopefully that makes sense.
No, actually, I've never, I've always been told to write them down, set them on the shelf. You know, if it brings fear or anxiety, you know, sometimes it's not of God, or you need to wait and let it come to pass. Right. But I've never heard the term like a letter, so that's very interesting, and I will kind of use that as a reference point from now on. The other thing I wanted to share with you and to ask you, I'm beginning to understand your objective here in this book is to get the reader to really point them, in which I like that. It's almost like a signpost.
Yes.
Your book is a signpost to point them to their creator, and I love it because we need those type of signposts, because we have so many people that they're looking for their origin, they're looking for hope, they're looking for purpose, and why not have enough material out there to point people in the right direction? Now, the other thing is, what make your book, and I love to ask people this question, especially when they're an author, what makes your book or your signpost or your manual different from another book for the reader to pick up? Because if I see this book on the shelf, you know, almost like a 30-second elevator pitch, what makes this book different from other manuals that are written out there, or maybe some of them not true, and it may guide someone in the wrong direction? What makes yours different? What sets you apart?
What sets me apart? This book is a manual that helps the reader point them toward the manufacturer. And so what happens, just like we talked about this earlier, when you buy a component or you buy something from the store, you open it up and it has the manual in there. So this book is not necessarily a substitute for the Bible. The Bible is what it is.
Yes.
What it is. I can't add to it. I'm not going to take it.
And I love that. Yes.
But you brought it out earlier. It is a supplement. Yes. It helps you supplement what you already really have and give you some guidance, as it were, in different areas. So, and a lot of things in this book comes out of my experience. So some of it comes from my mechanical ability, the technical ability.
Yes.
Right? So we used to have to put aircraft engines together from a bolt. Well, let me back up. We used to have to break them down to a bolt and build them back up again. And that was part of what I did in the Air Force. So I learned to use a manual, step by step, precept upon precept, boundaries upon boundaries. That discipline helped me, molded me, and helped craft me in understanding the Bible is set up pretty much the same way. It has precepts upon precepts. It has boundaries. It wants you to be successful. Of course, when you fly in a plane, you want your plane operating like it should. I was going to say that was
a very good analogy, because that had to be almost perfect.
Yes.
Somebody's life was depending on you. Yes.
And when I trained those that were under me, and when we put those things together, I'll give you an example. We couldn't just put things together. You had to have somebody with you to countersign or to make sure you did it correctly.
They call that TQM, Total Quality Management.
Right. So you signed off on that, say, installation of that item, and then somebody came behind you to make sure that they signed off on it also, to make sure you did it right. Because if something happened, it's not only the person, but also the person who signed off on it.
Yes.
So God is kind of like the same way. So he sent this Christ, Jesus, his son, in order to be the model on how we should carry ourselves, on how we should conduct ourselves. Christ said this to his disciples. He said, when you see me, you see the Father. Just do what I do. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
I like that. When you see me, you see the Father.
Just do what you see me doing. That's what you emulate. That's what you do. Okay. So the manual itself is the same way. What you see in the manual. Amazingly, when I was in the Air Force, not only did you see, it gave you line upon line, but also gave you pictures on what it looked like or should look like when you complete that process.
What? That's how it was in my diagram. That's how I was able to find those missing pieces. That's how I was able to put it together, because they put
pictures in there.
And I went, oh, that's where that part belonged. So that's good. I like that.
All right. So the Bible, or even this book, the Bible kind of puts you in a position to actually look, and so you can kind of see a model on how you should be complete. We all need models. That's the point. And we, in a sense, we're all models to each other.
Right.
So Christ in me is a model to the nations.
Wow, I like that. Yeah. Christ in me is a model to the nation. Mr. Wilson, where did the time go? I mean, it's already almost, we got 3 minutes before we close. What I want you to do, because I will have to have you come back, because we just started with the introduction. We did not even get into the book. So what I want you to do is tell the viewers where they can find you on social media. If you got any events coming up, speaking engagements or book signing, just look into the camera and let them know how to get in touch with you and how to pick up a copy of this book.
Well, you can get a copy. You can go to my website, ALLENS, Wilson, WILSON.com. And if you need to contact me through social media, once you go to the website, you'll see the link to Facebook, Twitter, and also Instagram. So just go to the website, one-stop shop.
And that's good.
Go into it, and you'll see it right on there.
Oh, that's excellent. And again, the name of the book is The Manufacturer's Manual, as he just stated, helping you to discover the purpose of you, the product. And there's no reason for you to live in darkness anymore. There's no reason for you to walk around aimlessly without understanding your origin, your purpose, and who you are, and knowing your destiny, where you're going, when you can pick up a copy of The Manufacturer's Manual by Mr. Alan S. Wilson. Get a copy today. Go on his website. Let him know you heard him here live on QETV Live show with your host, Miss H. Mr. Allen, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, sharing with us what God has blessed you with. And also, you know what, if you are interested in having him come speak to your group, your fellowship, your business, your organization, he's also available for that. But I want to thank you for your service as well, again, to this country, but now for your service in pointing people to the one and only God of the universe, as you said it here, our Father. I love it. Again, thank you for viewing QETV Live Show with your host, Miss H. I will see you next week.
We here at VoxWave believe that no one in the DMV should go without a coat this winter. So we partnered with Star Imports dealership for this year's annual coat drive. If you have an old or gently used coat that can still be worn, drop it off with us. VoxWave Studios at 4711 Off Place, Suitland, Maryland, and give the gift of warmth to somebody in need in the DMV.